2/3 of our planet's surface is covered by ocean. We rely on it for food, energy, transport and raw materials. It plays a critical role in human well-being and is responsible for transporting heat around our planet, regulating our climate and keeping our air breathable. The oceans not only provide the foundation for a healthy planet, but they also sustain a huge proportion of the global economy. It's estimated that oceans provide us $21 trillion annually in goods and services and provide jobs for an estimated 350 million people worldwide. In Europe, sea-related industries account for around 5% of gross domestic product, GDP. The importance of our oceans, both environmentally and economically, is huge, and understanding them is equally important. But this is a very dynamic environment, and in order to understand our oceans and seas requires an enormous amount of reliable and detailed data. From understanding physical characteristics such as temperature, salinity and seawater chemistry, to finding out how currents flow around the oceans and how this is affected by the shape of the seabed and coastline. Even knowing basic facts such as how deep the ocean is at a given point is no small feat. On top of that, the interplay between the physical characteristics of the ocean, the sea floor and the water column then determine what habitats can form and what marine life can live there. Collecting data to understand all of these factors is a massive task, so who's doing it? Well, the answer is not straightforward. Marine data is collected by a myriad of players. Here in Europe, that ranges from the scientific institutions who want to collect data for their research, hydrographic offices who need reliable information to keep people safe at sea, to governmental agencies and local authorities who are mandated to monitor their environment. Add to that the marine industries, such as the petroleum sector, marine renewable energy companies and the shipping industry, and you've got a very complicated picture. But so what? If everyone's collecting the data they need, what's wrong with that approach? Well, the cost of collecting marine data is huge. Just a day on a research vessel like this one costs around €30,000. And that's without considering the time it takes to process the data into a format that's useful. The crazy thing is that for many sea areas, this data exists, but it's not available for others to use. But the biggest challenge is when something goes wrong. What happens when you need urgent and reliable access to lots of different types of marine data for a particular area? Sadly, most of us have seen images like these before. Oil or chemical spills are an unfortunate risk that goes hand in hand with extracting and transporting petroleum and other products across the sea. Minimising the environmental and health impacts from these accidents is critically dependent on being able to access reliable and up-to-date information about the spill area and where it's likely to move to. To find out more about the kinds of data needed to manage and respond to oil spills, we spoke to a specialist.
In terms of oil spills, it's really important that we have access to data and a wide range of data. We need data that are reliable, data that are easily and quickly accessible. That's really a key issue in terms of managing and dealing with oil spills. We need information on the currents, we need information on the weather. Maybe we're right next to some area that is very sensitive in terms of the ecosystem. Maybe some fish just released larvae in there. Maybe there are some human activities that might be at risk and might be affected by the presence of oil. We need information on the physics and on the hydrodynamic of the area. This is of course very important because once you know the current, once you know how are the waves at that time in that area, once you know the wind, then you know how fast the oil spill is going to move, how it's going to interact with the water. It might also disperse into the water column or stay at the surface. Thanks to that kind of data, physics, biology, on human activities, we can take an informed decision and we can decide of the best response strategy to reduce the effect on the marine environment.
So it's clear that having access to a range of marine data types quickly and reliably is important in responding to emergencies like an oil spill. But But it's not just emergency situations that need this kind of information. The pressures on our oceans have never been greater, and a source of high-quality data is critical in managing the use of our ocean space and resources in a sustainable and responsible manner. In 2009, the European Commission set up the European Marine Observation Data Network, or EMODnet for short. EMODnet is a network of more than 100 organisations working together to observe and measure the oceans, process the data according to international standards, and then make that information freely available. Usually the data are collected via local, national and regional databases and then made available via EMODnet's central information gateway as interoperable data layers and data products. Not only does this mean that people can access marine data quickly, they can also be reassured that the data is accurate and quality controlled, and the different data layers can be used together. By adopting this collect once and use many times philosophy, the EU could save a large chunk of the €1 billion spent each year on collecting marine data. And it's not just about savings. It's been estimated that having access to existing marine data could stimulate economic gains of up to €300 million per year. EMODnet currently provides free access to various data describing the seabed and overlying water column across Europe's seas, including bathymetry data which describe the topography of the seafloor and geological information that shows what the seabed is composed of. The physical qualities of the seawater such as temperature and salinity, sea level, wave data, ice cover and atmospheric conditions, both in near real time and in the past. Information on the concentrations of chemicals such as pesticides, heavy metals and antifoulants found in the seawater, seafloor sediments and sea life. The marine life found in our seas from plankton through to cetaceans and seabirds, and biodiversity data. Maps showing different types and distribution of seabed habitats classified according to the European Nature Information System, UNIS. Finally, information on the geographical position, spatial extent and attributes of a wide array of human activities that take place in Europe's seas, and how this has varied over time.
Europe's seas are its lifeblood. They're vital to our well-being, prosperity and security. Gathering information to understand them, to see how humans impact them and what future changes may lie ahead is vital for sound decision-making and planning. EMODnet represents an important step towards an integrated and sustainable approach to managing marine resources, and that's essential for the future health of our oceans.